This webinar is entitled Return of the Gods, Baal, Ishtar, and Molech, continuing the theme of things not seen, things not accounted for. The ancient books of 1 King and 2 Kings describe three spirits of the age. It says this: As Solomon grew old, his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not fully devoted to the Lord his God, as the heart of David his father had been. He followed Ashtaroth, who is Ishtar, the goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech, the detestable god of the Ammonites, and he built a high place for Chemosh, that is the Baal and the detestable god of Moab. So these three gods, Baal, the lust of power, Ishtar, the goddess of sexual depravity, and Molech, the god of child sacrifice, were the gods that Solomon followed after. Could the unseen forces of the ancient spirits of Baal, Ishtar, and Molech be growing in power in our culture today? Baal, the lust of power, Ishtar, sexual depravity, and Molech, child sacrifice. Just because you cannot see them does not mean they are not at work. If you watch with discernment, you can see their effects. An example. Studies in Great Britain found that the number of teenage girls diagnosed with gender dysphoria jumped by 4,400% in 10 years. This is simply not a natural occurrence. A plausible explanation to consider is that there is a supernatural force behind this. Another example. 63 million abortions have been done in the United States since 1973. That's over 17% of the U.S. population aborted. This is simply not a natural occurrence. A plausible explanation to consider is that there is a supernatural force behind it. Jonathan Cahn makes a convincing case that these ancient spirits, these ancient gods, have returned. Can this explain how this inexplicable and accelerated advance in the destruction of life, marriage, sexual identities, and culture has come to pass? Is the supernatural at work, with powers and principalities and rulers in high places? The ancient scripture says this: For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This series will explore the history of one of these ancient spirits, one of these ancient gods, the goddess Ishtar, who seems to have returned to Western culture after being dormant for 2,000 years. It's based on research from Return of the Gods book and other independent research. So be prepared to consider and to see some things that you might not have considered before as we look at the Return of the Gods. This is Christian Civics Training. Thanks for listening.